Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Q&A podcast on Inside the Birds platform. I am Jason Avant, one of your hosts. I'm here with my main man, Quintin Mikell. Say what's up to the people, Q.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back. Excited. We have another fun episode for everybody. So
we always happy about being on this show to give you guys a little bit inside details, former players. Just insight of what's going on in the off season. But before we get into the show, we got to do a little bit of housekeeping. Thanks to everyone at Inside the Birds platform. Thanks to Jeff and to Adam, to Josh, Hunter, everyone that's responsible for putting the Q&A show on. You guys are making it a great success. And thank you to all the fans out there. Keep tuning in. Keep asking questions. Send your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. insidethebirds@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone that's leaving us messages on our inboxes on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are seeing those, and we're going to answer some of your questions again tonight. This is the last show of the summer. Well, I won't say the summer because technically the season starts in the summer, but this is the last show until the season starts. This was part of a 5-week series. We're going to start back up when the season starts. So if you guys have any questions for us, make sure you email them to insidethebirds@gmail.com. We'll try our best to answer them in some way, shape, form throughout the off season. Q, let's get right into this episode. OTAs, we're going to recap the OTAs, what's happening, off-season training for our players, trying to tune up things before the season starts. There's a lot of coming together, a lot of camaraderie being built, personalities coming together and congealing together. A lot of new faces, A.J. Brown, so on and so forth, being acclimated to the offense. OTAs, Eagles have taken fewer practices than every other team in the National Football League beside the Bengals. So it's only 2 teams that didn't use their allotted amount of practices. What do you make of that, Q?
Yeah, to me, I think, not to sound like the old fogey and all that, right? So, you look at the team across the whole team. I mean, you see, okay, Brandon Graham, 13 years experience, Jason Kelsey, 12, Fletcher Cox, 11, Slay, 10, Lane Johnson, 10. You got a few guys that are around, 6, 7, 8. But most of the team is, 4, 3, 2 years and younger. And usually the OTAs is the time where you're developing the younger guys. You're developing those guys into, to get some depth. You're developing them into potential starters. So, I'm not of the belief system that even OTA reps are a waste of time. I think even OTA reps are very important for those young guys to get the opportunity to be seen, to get the opportunity to develop, and to get extra time with the coaching staff. So, I generally understand you don't want to wear your team out before the season starts, but I just feel like those are kind of missed opportunities to really get some good growth and development in your backup players and guys that aren't necessarily going to be starting, but they're at some point going to be an important role moving forward. So, I don't want to sound like the old guy, but I hate to see that kind of missed opportunity there.
To me, I agree with you. There's a bunch of missed opportunity. The reason being is you have younger players that have played, but they don't have a bunch of experience and they're unproven, meaning they're playing because they're rookies. They're playing because they were drafted. They haven't done anything to prove their value in the National Football League, meaning if they become free agents today, how many people are going to pick them up on their roster? Not many, because they're still unproven. You want to get to that point like you are Jason Kelsey, you are Brandon Graham, you are Darius Slay. Now, if you're going to have some cutbacks or guys are going to miss practice, let the older guys miss the practice. That's what we did back in those days. Now, again, I understand that there's a new school, there's a new modern way of thinking. But yes, reward the old guys that are going to show up on Sunday, that have the experience. Maybe they do need some extra time to heal. But these young guys should be taking most of the reps, should be competing in practice for a spot, getting a lot of just growth and development. This is what the offseason is for. And yes, do I think that Nick Sirianni dropped the ball on this? I do. And I'm not coming from a hating perspective. I'm just talking about just a full growth and development perspective. When you got a guy, you pay top dollar for AJ Brown. You have Jalen Hurts, who's still in developmental mode. He's there. He's a young guy that needs throwing. He needs more and more against, your defense against 11 on 11. Getting that timing down only helps your team. You got Jalen Reagor. What has he proven? Quez Watkins. What has he proven? DeVonta Smith. He's proven a little bit, but it's still a lot to be seen. So I just think when you have such a young roster, it's time to play him, and that's just the bottom line. Now, with that being said, we saw that the team is moving into more of individual, like routes on there, running back footwork drills, offensive linemen by themselves, pass setting, defensive linemen against, the slaloms and also the bags, hitting the sleds, and defensive backs on there shadowing each other. It's very few reps of competition, competitive drills, 7-on-7, 11-on-11. Do you think this is beneficial for our team? And let's talk about the positives and the negatives when pertaining to that.
Yeah, the positives and the positive is, for me, is that you are working on your technique, especially at the skill positions. That's insanely important. Those aspects of the game are huge parts of the game, and those are the things that in season you usually don't get a lot of time to work on. So I'm okay with that. Hopefully, and if they're true professionals, the players will continue to work on those the individual aspects of their techniques and stuff away from the game, away from OTAs. And so that kind of brings me to why I feel like we missed a little bit more there, is because these are things that they can work on their own. These are things that you don't necessarily need a coach for. You can go out after OTAs. You can stay here an extra couple weeks by yourself and work on your technique. But what you can't do is you can't go 11 on 11. You can't go 7-on-7 in a team setting and be able to get those reps, because as you know, once it hits the fan, it starts flying fast. And so the biggest adjustment for young players is adjusting to the speed of the game. So, I think that's great. I just wish that we focused, this Eagle team would have focused a little bit more on the team aspect of it, because, that's really where your team grows. Everybody can get better by themselves, but you can't really get better as a team unless you're working as a team.
Q, I think that we've gotten to this place because of injuries, right? And not just injuries on our team, but around the NFL. When you hear about the gruesome injuries that are happening in OTAs, each and every year, that general managers and owners are reevaluating what's important to the team. And I think from our perspective, especially from, what we've been through, where it was 3-hour practices and 2.5-hour practices, and you feel like you were being on display and being like you were headed into a game, especially for young players. We took most of the reps during those times, it was just like this team, because we had the older veterans. You had the Talkins, you had McNabb, you had all of those guys there. So we were the ones taking all those reps the entire time, running our legs into the ground. But it's a different time. I think that the ownership is so scared to lose a player during this time of the year. But the truth of the matter is that if you're going to lose a player, you're going to lose him.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen guys tear their ACLs walking.
Yeah.
Literally going down the tunnel to head onto the field, was just walking down the tunnel, pop ACL. You remember the guy that I can't remember his name. I think it was Kyle Eckel. Remember I think we were doing a kickoff return drill, and he was jogging. Yeah. We were jogging, and he turned around and popped his ACL. You can't time those up. If it's right to you may. I think that it's the wrong approach. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. And I don't think that you should play that. You should not do something because of fear of being hurt. That's just me.
Yeah. And to me, and to add to that too, and if you're worried about something like that, then we always had, there was, like you said earlier, there's certain players that you didn't risk, right? There's the Dawkins and the Dons. Like, there's certain players on this team I'm looking at.
You're willing to risk
before. You're willing to risk. I mean, because
that sounds pretty bad though.
But you think about, all right.
Basically, they're not good enough. They're not. You're not valuable enough.
I didn't mean it like that, man. But
I'm
but
really
okay,
cool.
so I don't want to put it out there, but like
No,
a
you're
guy
good.
like
You're good. I'm
JJ
messing with you. I'm messing with
Ortega
you. Don't
Whiteside,
get
right?
diplomatic on me.
Like JJ, right? JJ, okay, he's moving to a new position. Okay, he's going to tight end now, and I'm not trying to make fun of him, but
I'm messing
if
with you.
he's gonna have any chance, right? If he's gonna have any chance to make this team or make anyone's team, he's gonna need some reps. He's moving to a new position.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So, if anything, if I'm one of them guys, I'm kind of mad. Like I need these reps.
That's just the nature of the beast, right? So these is I agree with you. These final OTA practices, like players that weren't there, AJ Brown wasn't there,
I don't know.
DeVonta Smith,
A little worried about that.
Jalen Reagor,
Very worried about that.
Lane Johnson.
Not worried about that.
Lane misses a lot,
Yeah.
but he's there. He's there when it counts for the most part. Practice about an hour and 20 minutes, and you're talking 45 minutes worth of individual drills and another 35, 40 minutes or so of team drills. Well, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Tell me how you really feel.
I mean,
you think they're soft or what? Or you just think they're making a player soft? What do you think?
It's such a different game. It's such a different game today. I mean,
all right. Tell me why it's a good thing. Let's start with that. Tell me why it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing because like the game has changed to the sense that it does end up being a year-round thing. If you are a true craftsman of the game, if you really care about your craft and you really want to get better, you essentially will be thinking about the game, training for the game, and working hard throughout the entire year. The difference is in our day, you sound like old fogies. We worked hard, but when you were off, you were off. And so I think if the mindset, and a lot of these players they take really good care of their bodies and they keep themselves in shape. So I think that's probably the good thing, is that it does get you time off the field and it gets you time away and no risk injury. That being said, is this a team that can risk not having the experience? Is this a team that can risk not having the development of the younger players? And that's where my concern is, a guy like Jalen Reagor, for instance, he needs all the reps he can get, right? And if it was me and I've had, the seasons that I've had and I haven't lived up to my expectations and the expectations of coaching staff and the fans and everyone else, I would have been there every day. I mean, they would have to tell me, listen, you got to go home. And so that's kind of the difference between, and it's not, it's just a different mentality for me. I was on the bottom coming up. So my mentality was I'm outworking everybody. So there's a little bit of that coming out of me there. So, we'll see what happens.
I think this is part of just America, the way we are now. We're dealing with just a different individual than what we were. And we have to acknowledge that. Gen Z kids, millennials, they value their time. They value experiences. They would rather live in a tiny home, right, than have a big house and be house poor so they can go on vacation, right? So I believe that this is part of that approach to make, the employee happy. And that's what I think. I think that they're giving them less time in the building, one, so they can be rested, but also that they can have some time to themselves, because once the season starts, 6 or 7 months, you basically are there. That's your family. That's your marriage. That's your everything, because you get there at 7, you don't get home until 7. And so I think that they're starting to put a little bit more value on life experiences, which is not a bad thing. So big ups to the players. I wish we would have had it like that. I do feel that that the teams that do it the old school way definitely have an advantage, because you can't tell me that 6 practices, right? So you're looking at another 7-8 hours that you allow your opponent to get better than you, right? And you add that up over a period of time, each week or whatever it is. That's a lot of hours that opponent is gaining on you. So I think that those that are like Bill Belichick, those that come from that old school, Sean McDermott, Coach Reed, they definitely have an advantage. Now, I know Sean McVay just won Super Bowl, but that was one of the best rosters in modern football era. Anybody can win a Super Bowl with that. It's just,
That was it.
Yeah. My grandmother can coach that one and be all right. Them players that he had, they had about 5 Hall of Famers. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Well, I can get out there and coach that right now.
All you gotta do is
for the
stay
most
out the
part,
way.
the coaches that are around, the coaches that compete each and every year, those coaches do it a certain way, and it ain't this way. And that's all I have to say. I'm not hating on a new group. More power to them, because I want them to enjoy themselves. I want them to go to Cancun and go to, Thailand and do all the stuff that you got a lot of money. Do what you do. Just make sure you back here ready to work. And this would really piss me off in off season is that we get ready for the season and then we got a bunch of guys that are not ready to go. Then I'm like, yo, you could have been training during the time that you were resting and you were ready to go when it's time to play. Now, that has been the case over the last couple of years. And I think that the last thing I'll say is that our team has always battled injuries. Always. Super Bowl, offensive lineman hurt, receivers hurt, quarterback hurt, backup this, backup that. I think they just may be trying a new approach.
Fine with me.
And that comes down to team decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the players, but that's the team decision coming from the top. Owner, general manager, team doctor, so on and so forth. And I just think this may be a preventative measure because of all the injuries that has transpired over the years. Do you think they're going to get rid of all-season training completely?
No, I can't. I can't see that. I mean, let's think about it. If I'm, Jeffrey Lurie, and I'm about to give millions of dollars to a player in a first round pick, and now it used to be this case when they had the holdouts that you wouldn't see them till a certain amount of time. But now that the way the CBA is, you can have those guys come in. There's no way in hell I would give millions of dollars to a player and not see them until training camp. There's no way. So I don't think that.
So ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in. So part of like the unwritten rules for most of the owners is to occupy as much player time as possible, because you're giving these young dudes got nice bodies and big bank accounts a lot of time. Usually that ends bad. So they try to occupy your time as much as possible so you can stay out of trouble. So they try to keep you in the building as long as, so you're not at the strip club, you're not gambling somewhere, you're not, on the highway with weed like Montrezl Harrell the other day, like stuff like that. They're trying to keep you from getting in trouble. So if they allow a whole off season and not show up at all, we're gonna have some guys come back that were 200 pounds that end up 250 pounds. You got some guys come back, with a few extra like off the field problems.
We'll leave it at that.
So yeah. Great thought. All right, let's get into this read, man. All right. New Edition Consulting is a boutique newsletter consultancy that partners with entrepreneurs, early stage startups, media entities looking to launch, maintain, and to grow their newsletter offerings. An intentional, consistent newsletter is the spine that holds your business community building efforts together, allowing you to connect deeper with your audience than you can using social media channels. New Edition provides one-on-one, end-to-end, 360-degree newsletter support to all their busy and talented clients. If you have been looking to launch and or transform your newsletter offering but simply haven't had the time, tools, or support, head to neweditionconsulting.co. Again, neweditionconsulting.co and book a free exploratory call with their team. Again, head to neweditionconsulting.co and book a free exploratory call with their team. New Edition Consulting.
Nice.
Sweet. Q, let's get into some of the questions. You got it.
All right. So first question we got, it's a good one. This is from Chris A. He said, last year, one of Jalen's most successful games was when he was running the jet sweeps and handoffs with the outside runs until he got injured by the goal line. Would it be plausible if Jalen Reagor converted into a power running back like Jordan Howard, since he's already kind of built like a running back? We've already seen JJ turn to a tight end. So what do you think of that?
I think that'll be a catastrophic failure. That's what I think about it. And Chris, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm not talking about your question, but I'm saying you drafted a guy in the first round. You don't draft running backs in the first round, and then you don't draft an experiment at running back in the first round. So you moving him to running back is saying this was the worst pick that I've ever had in the history of the Eagles, which I don't think is the case at all. So I think that they're going to try to stick it out with Jalen Reagor at receiver and make the best of the situation. Yes, he has a running back build, but usually running backs that have the agility and foot quickness are usually good at punt returns, kick returns, something like that. Brian Westbrook and the others that are good. Deebo Samuel, you just put the ball in their hands and stuff just begin to happen. Yes, Jalen Reagor has made some things happen, but he hasn't made the explosive happen consistent enough. He's had some ones where he's taken it to the house, but again, we're talking about like the elite of the elite when it comes to ball carriers. Running backs they make people miss. They're trained to be hit, and I think sometimes even with Jalen Reagor, sometimes you can question if he wants to be hit sometimes.
Yeah. And see, what I want to see this early next year. I want to see him succeed. I do think he's got a lot of talent. I want to see, especially early on, I want to see him with the ball in his hands early. Like first game, even if it's a simple hitch route, simple slant, I want to see him with the ball in his hands early and see what he can do from there. And then let him slowly build his confidence. It's almost like, he comes into the game and he's asked to do, things that he's not necessarily ready to do yet in terms of, route tree and getting down the field and judging the ball in the air. I like to see him getting the ball in his hands a little bit quicker and seeing, how he can kind of develop that way, and then start to kind of add more to his plate, add more to his route tree, add more to what he's able to do. And unfortunately, he might end up being odd man out because, the addition of AJ and, DeVonta and, so it might be a little bit too late for him, but I would love to see him get that opportunity to maybe not like Debo, but, try to use him similarly.
Yeah. Well, so this is the thing. Like, I hear you and I hear Chris. Putting a receiver at running back is not common.
Yeah.
And it's not an everyday thing. This is one of those things that you have to have an extraordinary, above normal, super like athlete. And Debo is one of those. Debo is one of those athletes. Percy Harvin was another one. It's not many guys that you can just put in the backfield that can take that beating from a receiver perspective, just in general, just the mentality. First of all, most receivers, if you tell them to go in the backfield, they mess around and quit or punch you in the mouth. Like, what do you think? Like, you put me in the backfield, that's like asking a pretty girl to ride and coach. Like, you just like, you know what I mean? It's just like they were first class. That's the receiver's mentality. It's just not, it's just, you know what I mean? It's just not happening.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
They're going to get mad. Run backfield. Snap the finger.
We already seen that with Debo. I mean, I think
Debo want more money. Gonna put me in the backfield and use me all up. You gonna try to make love to me, not even kiss me. What's wrong with y'all?
Oh man,
that's it. Debo want his money. They don't want to give him his money. Been messing around with the backfield. Jalen Reagor, stay out of that backfield. They won't pay you. All right, next question, too. Aaron P. If Jalen Hurts is deemed the starter for the future, how likely do you think he'll be able to play a full 17 games consistently in his career? I feel that at some point he's going to have to change his playing style, similar to what McNabb did, and focus more on being a better passer than runner to prolong his career.
Well, I mean, I do think I think he does need to develop better in the passing game, not only just for his own health, but for the health of this team. The way this team is designed, he's going to need to be able to pass the ball better if they're going to have some success. And it's no secret. Most running quarterbacks have injury histories, and they tend to fade away into the playoffs, and teams catch up to what they're doing, and so I think across the board, if he can develop into a better passer, it's going to help everything about his game. It's going to help everything about this team. And Donovan, the comparisons to Donovan, and he gets that. I think he gets that pretty often. I don't think
that's a fair comparison, but
go
ahead.
Yeah, that's not really. That's what I was going to say. His arm strength isn't the same as
his accuracy isn't the same as Young, because Donovan, even though he has some accuracy problems as he get older, Donovan was a much more accurate younger as a younger player. As his legs begin to get older, he began to be more inaccurate. But when Donovan was hot, we won by a lot every time.
So it's not fair to put that comparison to him. So, but I do think that it will only help him and this team if he can develop better in the passing game. And
agreed. The every running quarterback has to deal with that fate. At some point, one of these dudes that have seared the part of their brain to stop when people are coming toward them is going to hit you at one of these times. And they're not slowing down. Their job is to eliminate you, try to destroy you, try to hurt you. That's their job and their goal. And eventually, you running that much, they're going to tag you. They're going to catch you. Mm-hmm. And it won't be good on that day. So you have to change your mentality and run when it's necessary, and not run because you don't know what you're looking at. And that's where I have the problem. We're using athleticism because we don't have the information, because we're not prepared. That's something totally different than being aware of the circumstance, understanding the situation in the game, and choosing to use your legs because it's the best option at the time, rather than saying, oh, I'm not prepared for this moment, so I'm forced to run. Now you're running into headaches because it's something that you're doing because you're not prepared. And so if he can mature past that point where he knows exactly what's going on in the game, oh, it's 22 man, everybody's back turned toward me, and now I can escape the pass rush and I'm going to gain 20 yards. Oh, and I'm smart enough to get down before the dudes that knock heads off for a living can touch me. It's a good thing. But just to run haphazardly because I'm unsure and I don't know what I'm looking at, that's where you get hurt. And so I think so you don't see Russell Wilson hurt much besides hamstrings and stuff like that, but not because of taking hits, because they get down. Aaron Rodgers can run. Aaron Rodgers can roll. Like, a lot of people don't know that dude can really run for a quarterback. He's a high 4.5 guy. So that's pretty fast for a quarterback. Colin Kaepernick was a mid 4.5 guy, just to let you guys know. So Aaron Rodgers can roll, but he doesn't use it unless he has to. And that's the way you play quarterback. You try to throw the ball up. I have no other option to run. I'm going to run for as many yards as I can before somebody can touch me and I get down because I'm that valuable to the team. That's the only way you can play this game.
Boom. That's it.
Yeah. Before we get into question 3, the next ad is brought to you by Launch Trampoline Park. That's your boys' park. Come on down to Launch Trampoline Park. I'll make sure to hit your kid in the face with a dodgeball. Make sure that his thing's real good. If he didn't complete his homework, we're sending him down to Launch Trampoline Park. I can beat him up for you on the battle beam, and it's completely legal. No, for real. No, all kidding aside. Launch Trampoline Park is an interactive trampoline park. We have laser tag, rock wall, trampolines, Ninja Warrior, rock climbing, everything, arcades, birthday parties, catering, full cafe, corporate events, everything we have at Launch Trampoline Park. Bring your kids down to Launch Trampoline Park. And you, if you want some of me, I'm the king. I'm Evo. Nobody can beat me at anything there. So if you want competition, come see me and I'll kick your butt for free. There you go. No, you got to pay to get in. But kick me. All right, Launch Trampoline Park, Deptford, New Jersey.
Fun times, man.
Fun times. Q got the next question. Oh, I gave you the hard name too.
Oh yeah,
that was on purpose.
Oh man, Ganaya. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. Ganiyu.
That's what I said.
Yeah. He says we are always shown the statistic of the percentage of Jalen Hurts throws inside the hashes versus outside. How much do you attribute that to him not seeing the field completely or playing too conservatively and just not being physically taller to actually see the middle of the field? I ask this because it seems like smaller guys like him and Kyler Murray have the same problem.
That's a good question, actually. I'm gonna say Ganiyu. I think it's a good question. Jalen Hurts is undersized for a quarterback, meaning right around that 6 foot, 6'1", and it's hard to see over the offensive line because usually the offensive linemen are going to be 6'3" and above, right? Lane 6'5", big. Jordan Mailata 6'8". It's hard to see over those guys. You 6'1", right, and be able to deliver the ball accurately down the field. I think we should consider what Drew Brees does. And this just brought me to that mentality is that they change. And for you guys that don't know, Drew Brees was a smaller guy and he would set deeper. So a lot of times the left tackles would take vertical sets instead of 45-degree angle sets. They would take vertical sets a lot of time because Drew Brees was a little bit shorter and a lot on his play action. He would be back there 9, 11 yards. Looking up like this because he's so short, and he already so they would give him more space and more room. It's definitely an option, especially in the play action game. I don't think you can change your offense, to have guys pass setting differently, but for play action, you definitely can alter your drop. Now, from my perspective, the times that Jalen Hurts is having problems in the pocket is not because he's short and he can't see, it's because he's on the wrong side of the field because he was, I won't say not prepared, but he's just young. And NFL defense is tricky because it's their job to disguise defenses. They're not going to let you see what they're doing. It's their job to trick you. And not being able to understand the NFL defense completely, the ins and the outs, and understand what the defensive front is that can also dictate what coverage it is, also where linebackers and safeties are. This guy's usually in the post. So I don't care what he's showing me. That's a free safety, that's strong safety. This guy's normally on the post 90% of the time. I'm going to trust that rather than what I see. So those types of things he has to learn. And I don't think that has to do with his height at all. It has to do with learning this game at this level. He's had success at the collegiate level, has had moderate success at the pro level. But in order to go to the next level, he has to be able to see and know what he's looking at from an NFL quarterback's standard. Being on the right side of the field based on coverage. Being on the right progression based on coverage, leverage, route matchup, those things, right? So there's a lot that a quarterback is asked to do. It's a bunch. And so I can't say, okay, this guy that's going into his third year should know all of this. It's a bunch like that he has to do. He has to know what everyone does on the field. He has to remember the cadence. He has to know which receiver is going to be in what spot. He has to see leverage so he can eliminate progressions and reads for receivers. Like, it's a bunch that he has to do, right? Blitz pickup, coverage recognition, listening to the guy in the helmet. It's a bunch that we're asking him to do. So I'm not expecting him to do it right now, but he has to get better at it quickly and for this team to go. What do you think, Hugh?
Yeah. What really stuck out in my head too is when it's funny you brought up Drew Brees, because I was going to say the same thing. And one of the things that Drew Brees was really good at was finding the windows. And
Great window thrower.
yes, like the vertical
Explain what that
sets.
is. Explain what that is, though, Q. Explain what that is.
Yeah. So, as a quarterback, let's go with the defense. As a defense, you're going to either be playing some type of man or some type of zone. And usually, if you're playing a zone, you have to get to your drops. And you have to get to your drops at a certain time. So there's certain spots that no matter what type of coverage or defensive coverage you're in, there's going to be windows in between. Let's say it's a cover 3 and the linebackers are dropping to the hook, which is the hash. Let's say they're dropping to the hash marks. Well, there's a window. There's a short window in between the hash and the numbers where if you're accurate enough and you're fast enough and you're able to notice that window is going to open, you can get that ball right in between the linebacker and the hash. And the receiver's got to be, so it's all got to be on timing. It's all got to be, you have to pretty much know what you're looking at. So if let's say I'm Jalen Hurts, I come to the line of scrimmage, I see a single high. In my mind, I'm saying, okay, this is either some form of cover 3 or some form of cover 1, very similar coverage. I might get into my case. I'm looking outside, seeing if the cornerback is pressed, if he's locked in on his man. I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's cover 1. If the linebackers are looking at me, maybe it's a zone. I get into my drop. If I'm getting into my drop and the first thing I see is both linebackers turn and run to get to their hash, I know it's cover 3. Now, if let's say I have a slant on strong side, the linebackers drop into the hash, I know that if I'm going to get this slant off, I have to get it in between that linebacker dropping to the hash and the corner or the down safety coming down, right? So I'm throwing to that window. I'm not necessarily throwing to the receiver to that side. I'm throwing to that open area that I know he's supposed to be at. And if he's not there and the ball goes incomplete or intercepted, it's his fault. So that's what I mean by Drew Brees is one of the best at throwing to windows. Is he didn't necessarily have to see the receiver to know it's open. He just threw it to the window, and he knows that guy's going to be there.
That's talks about that. He talks about that extensively, that there's many throws that he doesn't even see the receiver, but he knows the timing of the play. He sees where the safeties and the defenders are, and he puts his money on that his receiver is going to be at that point at that time. And he's like, I see the guy out there. I don't see where my receiver is, but he's supposed to be there. So I'm going to throw it to that spot. And he ends up making plays like that. That's playing the game at a different level. And that's a window thrower. Now, that's the window thrower and throwing to open voids and zones, right? But also throwing in the lanes of the offensive lineman.
Yes.
Because he's too short to throw over guys. So he has to throw through lanes a lot of times, especially on underneath passes. So figuring out that lane and how to wrap it around guys. That's why you see quarterbacks throw sidearm passes to get around people. He's throwing through lanes. So you can throw through voids, windows, and you can also throw offensive linemen like through them as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Great explanation, Q.
You too, man.
Yep.
On it.
From Malcolm J, who is someone considered a lock to make the team that has a chance let me read that again. Who is someone considered a lock to make the team that has a chance not to make the final roster? I don't get that question.
Well, I'm guessing he means someone that everyone outside probably thinks is going to be on the roster that may get cut. And that's a tough one. I mean, my money My money right now is probably on Jalen Reagor.
You think Jalen?
Maybe not to
Let's
get cut.
look at the numbers. Who do you got? Hold on. You got AJ Brown, DeVonta, Quiz, G Ward, Jalen, Zach Pascal.
Is my Boise State? Hold on, let me. There's someone I'm missing. Let me.
Hightower, no.
Hightower. Yeah. Kendrick Wheatfall. Devin Allen. Deion Kane.
That's the kid that runs fast. He's ran a hurdle.
Yeah, the sprinter.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I would say you. So you.
I'm not saying cut. I'm not saying cut. I'm saying I'm not gonna say he's gonna cut. He might get traded.
Yeah,
he might.
No, that's definitely plausible. I'm gonna say somebody on the defensive line. I don't know who. I don't know who, but they have too much talent right there at the defensive line. Right, you got Brandon Graham that needs reps. You got Josh Sweat that needs reps. You got Jordan Davis that needs reps. You got Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Barnett. You got the
Milton Williams.
You got the two guys that were drafted last year. It's a lot of people in the defensive line. So I'll be surprised that if Barnett or someone on the defensive line is not moved before the season starts.
Fair enough. Yes.
I would just say somebody on defensive line.
Okay.
All right. Last question, Q.
Let's see. Do you think DeVonta is the kind of player?
From Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
From Malcolm J. And this from Chris.
This is from Chris. Do you think that DeVonta is the kind of player and Nick is the kind of coach to give DeVonta at least some limited autonomy within the offense? If so, what could that mean for someone as talented as Smith?
It's a good question. Right. Let's speak from a receiver's perspective. The coach and from the coach's perspective, the coach has to feel that the receiver is smart enough and understands the offense completely in order to give the player autonomy. So you have to know it just like a coach. And I remember Coach Reed would get up and test us, right? He would ask us, hey, Jason, come up to the front of the room and tell everybody what you do in this coverage. And they would call on us to see. Only, 2 or 3 of us would be able to get all those questions right. So he has to trust the player that much. And then you have to figure out a space in your offense, which is a system, to have autonomy. So what does that mean? I have to create plays where there's options for him if my offense does not have options. This is a West Coast offense, so there's not a bunch of option routes. So if that's the case, I have to build that into the system. Can it be built? Yes, it can be built. When you start doing that, you're saying that he's the man. He's the one. And because now he's overriding an entire system in order to have an autonomy. And usually when you want to let a player override the system have autonomy, that means that the chances of him scoring a touchdown is more likely than everybody else's chance to score a touchdown. And I don't know if that's the case. I love DeVonta Smith, and I think he's going to be an excellent player. But do I think that he's going to touch the ball 7 times and one of those is going to be a touchdown? No. That's the type of player that you want to give that type of autonomy to. Because remember, I can give DeVonta Smith Pro Bowl stats, but will Pro Bowl stats equal Super Bowls and or playoff wins and or wins? Yes, it will help your fantasy football team, of course, but will it equate to wins and losses? That's the thing. Now, that's the guy that I want to get the ball, the guy that's going to score the most touchdowns with as few chances as possible. That's the person I want to get the ball. And I don't necessarily know at this stage that's DeVonta Smith's game. So will I rewrite my entire offense for that? I wouldn't do that.
Okay. What about for AJ? Do you think he would get some of that?
I think you have to have a ton of so let me go back. He needs autonomy within the routes,
okay,
but not necessarily within the offense.
Okay.
It's a totally different thing. Autonomy within the offense is like giving a guy preeminence in the offense, where if the ball is called to the X on this play, there's teams. Chad Johnson had this authority where he can just go. He can go and Debo whoever the receiver was to get the ball at that moment in time.
Okay.
So he needs autonomy within the routes, meaning don't make this man who's an artist when it comes to running routes. Don't make him run the lines. Let him get to the destination based on his creativity.
Okay.
DeVonta Smith. Let him draw. Let him paint. Let him be an artist. Let him do those things because that's poetry when he runs routes. That's what he does. So let him have a blank canvas within that system, but don't make the entire system, the entire canvas, DeVonta.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
So as long as he gets into his route and gets to where he needs to be when he needs to be.
At the time, I don't care if the dude start breakdancing in the middle of the route, get back up and do the cabbage patch. As long as he's there when the ball is being thrown, I'm good with it. And a lot of times the offensive coordinators hate it when a guy like him has that much autonomy because it doesn't sit well with them that they can't control it. People want control, and a big part of this is that because of the dollars that this game produces, people want to be the reason why we win instead of us just winning. They want to be the reason why we win because that means more dollars for them. So allow that man to do his thing, and it'll help him. It'll help the team out.
All right.
There it is.
I don't think they cabbage patch no more.
Oh, they do
the smeezy now, right? And the gritty.
The sneeze. We old, man. Stop talking.
We aging ourselves.
Yeah, we aging ourselves. We out there talking about the Tootsie Roll. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Q, it's been a great 5 weeks, my man.
Yeah, man, it's been good.
I can't wait to get back to the season. We get some live action. We have some film to watch. We have some tape to break down. We have some actual games to cover and not dudes running around looking great in shorts. It'll be a great time for everybody. Fantasy football season, NFL, electricity, fall atmosphere is the best time of the year.
It is, man. It's when football season goes away, it's always a sad few months. I mean, basketball kind of holds it, the torch for a little bit, but
yeah,
there's nothing like football season for me.
Yeah, now we're going into the off season where we're about to see badminton on television, break dancing, monster trucks, table tennis. All of that stuff is about to be on television. Shoot me right now. Let me stop hating on these people. All right, Q. You have a good one. To everyone that tunes in to us each and every week, thank you guys for tuning in. To Jeff, to Hunter, to Josh, to everyone that's responsible inside the Birds, we appreciate you guys for having a Q&A podcast each and every week and during the season and for these 5 weeks in the summer. So thank you guys. Peace out to everybody. Enjoy your summer. I'll be on the beach with no shirt somewhere.
Peace out, everybody.